Hello and welcome everybody to the latest edition of the Buy Round Interview Show. Today I am joined by one of the game's most interesting characters, a man with a fierce reputation, a hard man, a caring man, a changed man, hero to many, Mark MG Geyer.
Hello, Jimmy.
Hello, Mark.
Absolute pleasure to be on the Buy Round. I'm enjoying what you guys are doing, and I jumped at the opportunity to sit on the couch and chew the fat.
Well, mate, I'm really looking forward to this conversation. Do you know where the phrase "chewing the fat" came from?
I don't, no. Because I spoke to John Jones on radio 10 days ago because he's coming to Sydney for an expo on UFC and stuff. And right at the end of the interview, I said, mate, look forward to seeing you down under and chewing the fat. And I started saying something else, and he said, what's chewing the fat mean? I said, having a goose, a gander, a bit of a talk. And then he said at the end of the interview, he said, see you, big guy, and enjoyed chewing the fat with you.
Yeah.
So now tell me.
So I believe it comes from during, I think it's like 1940s, post-World War II, obviously there was a supply shortage and
of food?
And food rations. So people that had bacon, because it was so scarce, they would hang it in the kitchen, right? And it was seen as a bit of a status symbol to have bacon hanging. Like that was like, oh, they're doing well.
They're right.
And when people would come over, they would pull off a little bit of the fat.
And chew the fat. There you go. Educational, informative.
Educational, informative. Like what a way
inspirational.
What a way to start the podcast off. Talking about chewing the fat. I was actually going to say there's so many places that we could go. Hard to know where to begin, but that's what we began with. So, yeah, here's to chewing the fat. Growing up on the streets of Wayland, I want to get into that and how that environment shaped the person that you became.
Okay, so my mum was 16 when she had me. My dad was 19 or almost 19, and they. My dad's the youngest of 10 children. My mum was the youngest of 4, and when they said they were pregnant with me, basically their siblings said, "You're kidding. You got to get rid of the kid, and you're 16, Maxine. As if you can't look after yourself, but save looking after a kid." So they decided to move out to a new suburb called Wayland in Mount Druitt, which was basically the second house on the street. The rest was all bush.
So where
it's in Mount Druitt.
Yeah, but where were your parents?
Guildford and Auburn. I was born in Auburn Hospital. We lived in a granny flat at my nan's in Auburn for the first 12 months of my life, and then we moved out to a housing commission house in Wayland. So I didn't really, growing up, you don't know how rich or poor people are. You're not really defined by that until you get older and you realise that we were a pretty poor family. But there was a lot of love in my house always, and I think it wasn't until I was a little bit older and started to go for job interviews and stuff like that I realised that we are pretty poor from a socio-economics point of view in Wayland and Mount Druitt, because I started going for interviews for apprentice electricians and apprentice plumbers and apprentice printing, and I didn't get one reply back from my forms that I sent in. So I was down at my nan's house one day, and she said, "Why don't you try using this postcode?" So I used Auburn's postcode, and all of a sudden I had one back from the DMR, and I had one back from the. So straight away, you realise that there was a little bit, and I didn't know this at the time. It wasn't until I was in my 30s that I realised what a postcode racism was. But I'd experienced it, growing up. Our house was fibro, and if you saw it back then, you'd go, wow, that's a pretty ordinary house, because we used to have no chalk to write on the road at the handball courts or the outline for football fields or tennis courts with the little bats. So we used to go and hit the side of the house with the fibro, break off the fibro and draw the lines with the fibro. The house looked like cheddar cheese. But So, Mum, I was 12 when I started looking after my 3 siblings. I used to take them to school, and Mum and Dad I wouldn't see Mum and Dad. They'd leave at 5 in the morning. Wouldn't see them till 5 in the afternoon. Both working 2 jobs to put roof over our heads, but a lot of love, Jimmy, in our house. There's a lot of love always, and I only got asked this yesterday on radio. We're talking about presents, and they said, "What's the best present you ever got?" And I said, "Well, growing up, there's only one present I remember. Me and my mates used to we lived near a stormwater drain, and when it would rain, we'd get sticks and we'd put them down and we'd race them. We'd do like commentate them. We didn't even realise back then that Frank Hyde was the commentator at the time and Rex Mossop, and so we're going, he's come up the outside and he's going to take over. And so to prove how poor we were as growing up, for my 12th birthday, I remember coming out from school. I was in year 6, and Mum and Dad got home from work, and Mum walked over to me with an envelope, and she had tears, and she started crying. And I said, "Mum, what's wrong?" She said, "We couldn't afford to buy your present this year, darling." I said, "That's okay. Like, far out. I don't mind." So she gave me an envelope with a handmade card, to Marky, loved Mum and Dad. And in the envelope were about 6 or 7 paddle pop sticks that were coloured in different colours to race down the stormwater drains. I went, "Mum, this is the best present ever." And you know what, Jimmy? It's the only present I can remember from my childhood. The only one. Yeah. I can't remember another present I got. And that was probably the one that cost the least, but it was the one that meant the most.
It meant the most?
Yeah.
It's funny that, isn't it? It's counterintuitive because, in society today, we think bigger is better. We look at the price.
Always.
Oh, well, can I just, sorry, not everybody does, but there's a certain number of people where it's there's the monetary value as a present is a direct link to the joy it's going to bring.
Yeah,
and even that, like our most valuable commodity that we have is our time.
Oh, well, you know what? I've got 5 kids, and if I dared give them a powder pop sticks, they'd say, "Come on, man!
Yeah,
where's my iPhone?"
Yeah.
It's just my wife is Brandy's sister, Megan Alexander, and I remember going to their house for the first time. I was 18 when I met Megs, my wife, and I remember walking in and thinking, "This is exactly like my house." There was the only difference was that my parents, or my dad in particular, Dad was a little bit hard on us as we were growing up. Especially me and my sisters and brother, because we didn't really have many friends over our house. He kind of frowned upon it. So as soon as I was 18, I moved out. My sister moved out. My brother moved out when he was 18. And I went to the Alexander's house, and you saw that their friends were laying on lounges, and I was so embarrassed. And nothing special about the luxurious of the house, or it was just you walked in, you felt love, And I remember Megan's mum driving me. She said, "I'll take you home now, darling." I said, "Oh yeah, okay. Just drop me at St Mary's, which is a suburb in between." They were at Cranebrook. There's a suburb in between Mount Druitt, which is St Mary's. I said, "Just drop me here at the station, and I'll ring Mum." So I didn't want them to see my house at Whalen, because A, it had holes in it from the chalk lines, and B, I just didn't. No, So looking back, it was silly to think that way but now we had 5 kids together. We took a sprinkling of my growing up and a sprinkling of Megan's growing up, and we've reared our kids like we wanted them to live how we wanted to live as we were growing up. So I've taken a little bit of each, and now my kids don't want for much, but there's always respect and there's always love.
It's a hard balance to get that, isn't it?
Very.
I look where my dad grew up, and in housing commission in a place called Maryport.
Yep.
And that's a incredibly poor area, not much happening, lack of investment from government, and we lived in a very modest area of Liverpool, but it was better than where he came from.
Yeah.
And then obviously being a professional athlete, and I guess things are going okay, but then how you relate that, I appreciate everything I've got. Because we've had because the sacrifices that my family have had to make myself, but it's difficult, isn't it? Because my daughters are 7 and 4, and they can't recognize what it's like to grow in Maryport and I'm one of 7 as well. So like we were like all my clothes were my brother's hand me down. You know what I mean? Like I never got new clothes. Like that was like. No. And shoes were made to, like, you get shoes like 3 sizes too big because it's like, mate, you're gonna grow into them.
They're gonna last
because
because
years. A pair of boots like to play rugby in or footy in, it was like, almost had to like stuff newspaper down the front of them because these were gonna have to last a couple of seasons, and even that, like, make sure you clean your boots when you get in because
so different. Now I walked into my young bloke's room. Who's all out the front of our house, and there's like 8 pairs of boots there. Like, wow, this could be the dressing room of a footy team. They got.
but you know what? It's even funny you say that about your mum gave you a handmade card. Like, how easy is it to just go to the shop and go?
I did it recently for Mother's Day.
Yeah,
I did. I could have, I could have taken time to write my own card. But inconvenience-wise, I just went, that one.
And but how much more does it mean if you actually get your kids to make a card? Like
a lot more. But
it's cheaper. But it just requires a little bit more effort and time. But people think the convenience of buying some quote unquote nice things.
It's money. I learned a couple of quotes through my life, and one of them that I never thought would be. As I'm getting older, I'm a lot more wiser. I learn things, and I always used to hear that money doesn't buy happiness, and it makes you comfortable, but it doesn't make you happy if you're not spending it the right way, if you're not doing things in the right way. And because my wife always said to me once I retired, she goes, this charity line that you're going down, I admire it, but remember, to whom much is given, much is expected. And I live by that. I live by that because I've been given a lot in life. I've had some ups and downs. I've had a lot of heartache. I've had a lot of joy. But at the end of the day, I've been blessed to be able to play the sport I love professionally, to be able to go into the media straight away after 15 years of playing footy, and now I've been in the media now longer than I played footy for. Which is a spin out to me. I never would have. When I first started doing media, and some would say it's still happening, but I couldn't really put 2 words together. I stumbled. I was passionate. I knew what I wanted to say, but half the time I wouldn't get it out the wrong way.
Hey, just on the money thing, do you ever watch The Office?
Yeah.
What about
it's my son's favourite show?
The English one?
Yeah.
Well,
no, Steve Carell.
The American one.
Yeah.
Well, mate,
I like Ricky Gervais as well.
Well, it's the Desiree quote that he's got.
Yeah.
Money to make my world go round. I'm reaching out to a higher ground, to a warm and peaceful place. I'll rest my weary face.
Very true. Very true.
'Cause we're living in a crazy maze. Desiree, famous philosopher.
Yes.
So
watch
it. You hear it from MG, you hear it from Desiree. So
yep.
Important lesson, kids. As a impressionable teenager growing up, that environment no doubt shaped you as a youngster back then, and obviously has shaped you now. But football, how important was that in your life?
It was everything. It was everything. I remember.
What age?
I remember crying when it got rained out. I remember putting my boots on first, from under say 6s to under 10s or 11s. I remember putting my boots on as soon as I got up. And we used to wear shorts then when you put the pads in the side of your shorts.
Yes. Yes. I remember. Were they torpedoes?
They were just normal cotton shorts, but they had pockets built inside of it. So
I know the
when
ones.
someone tackled you, they did jack shit. But you go, yes, I got my pads in, mum.
They're about as useful as those the nose bandages.
Yeah. There's a lot, and then I'd put my shoulder pads on, and I'd sit there and have breakfast, then I'd watch.
So you were.
I was ready before.
You were full kit wanker, ready to go. Like
yep. And then if I got caught off, I would bawl my eyes out for hours. Going, come on, we can play in this, which didn't happen really that often back when I was a kid because they were a bit more lenient, I suppose.
It's just.
But I love footy straight away. From under 6s to 11s, I played with Wayland. Then I went over to a team called North Mount Druitt, and I played for the PWSA New South Wales team. That was my first kind of real rep side that I made, and I made it as a winger because I was always a 5'8" growing up, and the whole back line for the New South Wales PWSA were 5'8s, and I was on the wing. So I played in 1979. I played in the curtain raiser to the English and Australian Test match. I remember being in the dressing room, and I think it was Eric Groth who fell over and didn't play that game because he fell in the showers with his steel studs on. And I remember vividly remembering that, hey, he's not missing a game, he's missing a Test match, against the Bombs. And then I had a growth spurt. Then I went from about 5'6" or something to about 6'3", and I looked like this microphone. I was just built like a minute to 6, and I kind of fell out of love a bit because I was getting hurt. I was more aggressive. My adolescence, I didn't reach puberty until I was about 16. Fully. Where other guys my age were doing it at 12, 13, 14. So they were a bit more aggressive than I was. So I went over to a club called St Mary's, and Jamie Jones was the coach of them. They were in 3rd division. I think this is perfect for me. Then we played a trial match against the best team in Parramatta, and we beat them. So we were graded in Division 1. And this is when I kind of took footy seriously for the first time, after my childhood. Had a new coach. He said, I'm not going to play you 5'8", you can play in the second row. Get some shoulder pads and use your size. And I started being aggressive, and then I didn't make Harold Matthews, I didn't make SG Ball, I didn't make Jersey Flegg, but I tried out for Jersey Flegg when I was 16. And I remember this vividly. I know it's a question you'll ask me later, but this was my sliding door moment because I was so close to my mum. I still am close to my mum. Mum and dad are still alive. Dad's 75, mum's 73, 72. And this day I went to St Mary's, and I remember turning up for this Jersey Flegg trial, under 19s, Jersey Flegg back then. I was 16. This was in October, so I wasn't 17 until December. So I'm giving away 2 or 3 years to these blokes. And I remember being there on the sideline, and after about 2 or 3 hours of back and forths, possibles, they said, okay, we're going to read out the possibles and probables now for the final game. The other guys, you can go home. And they said, okay, the probables, and they ran through 1 to 17 with them, and the probables were always the incumbents and maybe a couple of other kids who starred on the day. And they said the possibles, and they got down to number 17. I thought I was going to miss out for sure. So I went okay, but they said number 17 is Nick Geyer or Nick Geyer. And I went, there's another guy here, it's not me. And this manager said, is your name Nick? I said, no, mate, it's Mark. And he threw me a jersey. He said, whatever, just put that on, mate. And I went, it's the first time I had an energy of anger go down my body. I went, fuck you. Like, what the? Anyway, they're playing for about, can I swear anyway? Can I swear? They're playing for 40 minutes, and we're getting beat 50-0. And about 3 minutes to go, this manager says again, hey, Nick. I said, mate, it's Mark. And he said, mate, whatever, just get on the fucking field and play. And my mum saw this happen, and she was about 6 feet away from me behind an iron fence that was separating the crowd and the oval, cast iron fence. And I saw her that she was crying. I went, fuck, what's wrong, Mum? She goes, babe, they don't know your name. How are you going to make the team? And that was the moment. That was the very moment I said, right. I said to the coach, who have I got to beat to make this team? He pointed to these 2 blokes who were monsters. So I ran out the field. I was at marker. One of the incumbent second rowers ran the ball. I closed my eyes. I met him at the advantage line. I shoulder charged him and knocked him out. And all my teammates are going, oh, good hit, Nick. Everyone's calling me Nick. I'm going, I don't give a fuck. Just call me whatever you want. So then his mate said, hey, stick man. I went, oh, please don't be talking to me. Please don't be talking to me. I looked up, he's pointing to me, he goes, stick man. I went, what? He goes, I bet you can't do that again. And I said, I'll guarantee I can't. So they carried old mate off, and he's gone back to the back fence, it felt like to me, because I'm still at marker. went hooker, halfback, 5'8", centre, second row incumbent. He's got the ball and he got off the centre and he went straight towards me, 100 miles an hour, frothing. And he's a redhead. You couldn't hurt them in my day. They keep coming. And he come at me and I went, closed my eyes, and my shoulder charge was my weapon of choice back then. It still was when I played footy until they banned it, which was a good thing. So I closed my eyes again. This time was a little bit more aggressive and hit him. Opened my eyes and he's knocked out. I was going, Nick. So this is a whirlwind for me. I've turned up at this trial for Jersey Flag not knowing what's going to happen. I've just done two of the best hits that I've ever done in my life. I'm walking back to the car. Mum's still crying. I said, Mum, what's wrong, Dale? What's wrong now? She goes, I'm so proud of you. So as I was about to put my bag in the car and jet off, I saw this bloke walking towards our car and I went, oh, Mum, that's the first grade coach, Tim Sheens. She goes, is it? She goes, oh, hello, Tim. I went, Mum. She goes, hello, mate. He said, hello, mate. What's your name? I said, oh, whatever you want it to be, really. He goes, mate, impressive. He goes, what's your background? What's your name? I told him, and I said, I'm from St Mary's. He goes, I've heard about you because Jamie Jones was my coach and he played for Penrith at that stage. He said, yeah, well, I've come down to have a look at you and I like what I saw, albeit 2 tackles. He said, how would you like to play under 23s next year? So I played the whole year as a 17-year-old under 23s and spasmodically getting runs off the bench for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Following year, I was a captain of under 23s at 18 and made my debut the following year at 19 against the Bulldogs, first game of the year. Yeah. So it was a. I always tell kids when I go and talk to kids and functions, like we speak a lot of people, like always remember that you've got something inside that you don't even know. You've got something in there that until you know, you don't know. And when it comes out, get ready for it.
Yeah, it's hard to tap into though, isn't it?
It's very hard to tap into.
Some people have that locked away forever.
Yep.
Or some people, like you're very fortunate it manifests coming out in football because for others, it can manifest in other areas of life. Which,
it did for me. It did for me.
Yeah.
I sometimes didn't know where that switch was to turn it off when I went off the field to the club.
Yeah. So, but what I'm saying is people have that inside them and then it'll manifest in other routes where it's just like, whoa, I didn't know I could do this. And then that leads, without football, like that steers you to this life.
Yes.
And, you know, so with football, it steers you to this life. Without football, you know, that can, and I've seen it steer a lot of people away and just love to think that, I often think about if, you know, where I grew up in Liverpool, had we had rugby league, it would have helped so many people I saw go take different routes in life. We had soccer.
Yeah, are you talking about crime?
Yeah, crime and just bit petty crime more than anything. Boredom.
Yep.
You know, there's so many people that our game. I think. Well, I think our game gets bashed around a lot, but it has. I think if you're in charge of society, and you want the best possible society or society to function at its highest possible peak, you know, and that can be, there's a number of metrics that you'd use to measure that and all that, but I think you include rugby league and sport and team sport especially in that. But so for you as the aggressive style of player, did you go into a game like knowing you were gonna go off? Like that was your intent? You had an intention, or were you reactive?
No, so when I played under Tim Sheens my first year of first grade, and he encouraged, because I was a very good ball player as a youngster, offloads and stuff like that, and you know, chipping over the top and regathering and stuff like that. And well, that kind of, when he left in the end of '87 to go and coach at the Raiders alongside Wayne Bennett. No, it wasn't. It was Wayne Bennett was there in '87 with Ferner. Then '88, Sheensy went down there to coach. Then we got Ron Willie at Penrith, who was old school. He brought along with him Chris Mortimer, Peter Kelly, Graham Bradley, Alan McIndoe, Neil Baker. So the first thing he said to me, he said, everyone called me MG ever since I can remember in grade. He started calling me Mountain. He said, I want you to be the bloke in this team that everyone in that team's scared of.
So it was encouraged.
I was encouraged at 19 to be a hitman. And he said, I want you to be, because he coached Les Davidson before that. And I'd met Les Davidson as a 16-year-old on a building site. I was a labourer. He was a carpenter. And I remember just looking at him going, wow, look at this bloke. He's a New South Wales player, Australian player. And I had the courage to go up to him in the toilet when I saw him walking to the cubicle. And I went next to him. I said, I want to be like you one day, like Les Davidson. And I ended up playing with him against him in '87. So yeah, it was encouraged. Hence, I'd only make 12 tackles a game. You know,
People,
they knew that it was quickly evident that I was a little bit over the top. But I had the total blessing of not just the coach but my teammates.
and that reputation can sometimes get you in trouble in terms of like with referees.
Oh, of course.
And can,
Of course.
can actually cost you and your team. But that was just
no, it
that
cost me a
was,
competition in '91.
yeah,
I got Simbi.
yeah. Well, but in terms of like a general game, that was just like, okay, well, this is the price you've got to play.
Yeah.
The price you've got to pay. We see it now with guys like Victor Radley is
Hargraves and
you know, that's the price you pay.
But everyone's got a role in a sporting team. Everyone has their role. You got the flamboyance, you've got the skill, you've got the aggression, you've got the the calmness. That goes together to make a melting pot of victory, of win. You can't have a bit of that and not that. You've got to have a bit of this and that. You've got to have it all together. See, Johnny Cartwright was on the left side and had that beautiful offload, which was encouraged. But when it comes to the aggression side of it, I was the one who had to stand up for my team, even as a young bloke. We had Chris Mortimer and Peter Kelly, who I learnt so much off, because they just come from the Bulldogs, the dogs of war. And Chris Mortimer he'd rev me up before a game so much to say that, mate, Mountain, if you don't get over this, you're number 11, we'll get beaten today. And that was kind of the mindset of the whole team. If we beat our opposing number, then we can go and help our other mate who's doing a bit hard with the number 6 or number 7 or number 8.
I guess, you know what, mate, it's made me, just having this conversation made me think, like, we tend to focus on the over-aggressive players and that live and die style of attitude, but it goes to it's the same with, you know, the risky offloader.
Yeah,
you live and die by that, and you accept that as part of who they are. And when it works well, it works well, and when it goes wrong, but that's just
if it's encouraged, you can't really get the shits about it.
Yeah, and if it's necessary.
Like I remember running out and seeing Brandy at the front of the line, thinking, well, we're not going to lose today. You know, we're not going to lose, because he was such a player to play with. Then you'd see Brad Fittler behind him, and then you see Steve Carter behind him, then Brad Izzard, and then Paul Clark and Nobby Clark and Mortimer and Peter. So Peter Kelly taught us the thing about what Wooly did with Penrith. Tim Sheens was all about that inclusiveness. So twice a week, me as an under-23s player would train with the first grade squad. We'd have a joint presentation on a Tuesday night. The biggest hit of the week, we'd get the Brad Waugh Moose. He's called Moose. So you get a Moose hat you had to wear to training, you know, and I'd get that a lot often. And he was the first coach that I had that brought in skills. You do 20 minutes of this, 20 minutes of that, and it was just fun. Ron would come to the club and wanted that right back and just did, I want your aggression, I want minimal passing, I just want to get hard and I want to get tough from the outset. I want us to be the team that everyone's scared of to play.
So that's your team identity, right?
That's our identity.
It's like, yeah, your identity is that, and playing on that line.
Yeah,
and
very much
you're
so.
happy. You're happy to go over it. It's not even playing on the line. It's like, this is who we are.
I love that.
And we don't need a second invitation to go over the line. And it's the same with teams that offload like that, or free flowing football, or risk in their own half, or play a more conservative role that gets them results. Like, that's who you are. And as long as everyone's in, if 100%. Everybody's all in on it,
we're going to go well.
Yeah,
we're going well.
You're going to go well, and coaches, or the best coaches, can change their style based off the player that they've got at their disposal. Playing. Yeah, the team that they're playing. Yeah, boys, we might need a bit more of a conservative approach.
That's
today.
Right. Exactly. You play. It's kind of on the run footy, but you got to have a lot of cogs to the armour. You got to have. You got to be able to reach in and go, okay. That free flowing aggression isn't working because they're getting just as aggressive as us. In fact, they're getting aggressive because we're getting aggressive. Die down a bit. Let's get back to some skill. Play smart.
Yeah. We're going to take a quick break from the show to talk about our new partner, AG1. Now, I love AG1. I've been taking them for about 6 months now. I've noticed multiple health benefits. My gut feels better. My focus is more clear. My intensity in my workouts has gone up as well. And this is all thanks to AG1. It's the one-stop solution for all your supplement needs. I love starting my day with a refreshing glass of AG1. So simple. 1 scoop in the glass, some cold water, give it a stir, or if you want to go fancy and get the shake, do that as well. But it's so easy. It takes out the guesswork with your supplement requirements. If you miss it in the morning, take it at night. I never miss a day with AG1, and I am reaping the rewards from it. And the best thing about it is it tastes great too. And you can really start to feel the benefits. Have it as a simple part of your routine, and you'll see the benefits too. So if you're looking to make positive change with your health outcomes, check out AG1. You will not be disappointed. There's 75 high-quality ingredients. Take care of all your nutritious needs every single day. It's a small habit that you start and gets big results. If a comprehensive solution is what you need from your supplement routine, then Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. So to check out this exclusive Buy Round listeners deal, head to athleticgreens.com/buy round. That's athleticgreens.com/buy round. Your only place to get the free 1-year supply of vitamin D from Athletic Greens plus 5 free travel packs. Make sure you check it out or click in the show notes where we'll have that link for you as well. Please don't delay and get your Athletic Greens today. Obviously, you mentioned it, the 91 grand final. Now, I love seeing footage of this grand final because it involves my old coach, Royce Simmons. Oh. Like, what a...
How he didn't get me out of the match that day. Brad Clyde is a fantastic bloke and a great player. Like before Foxtel was doing these, I think 97 they started broadcasting every game live, and before that, but in the 80s and the late 80s, early 90s, you'd only be on TV once every 6 months, and you'd hear about something. Like we heard about Brad Clyde in about 87. This kid's 17. He's about to play first grade. He's a lock, but he's got the motor of a fullback. He runs like a front rower. So this mythical creature was starting to appear in our minds.
It's crazy that, isn't it? Because now, we've known about Sualihi since he's been 15. Yeah, we know he's been coming.
Yeah,
like, and we've seen footage
of him. Like, Johnson.
I remember when he played, a reserve game, and we see every single touch is on Fox Sports News.
From I remember it was at Blacktown. He played for
the North Sydney Bears
against Manly.
Yeah, and it's like,
the kid in the wing. But so that was kind of what it was like. That was this every time you'd hear about someone, you'd read it in Rugby League Week or the big league, or you'd hear about them, and then you'd watch a bit on video what you could watch, because even back then it was limited to watch other people's games.
Yeah,
because they weren't on TV. And I suppose the same happened with the Broncos and the Raiders when they hear this young kid's coming through Penrith who a bit of a firebrand. Let's bait him. Let's get into him. It works both ways, but that's Simo had a really big effect on my career in more ways than one, because when after this Jersey Flegg trial, my first session going up to train with first grade as a 17-year-old was in the gym, and I had no idea what to do, how to excuse me, how to do anything in the gym. I've never been to a gym. And I remember looking in at Penrith, under the stadium at Penrith, there was a gym, and there was a Nautilus machine. And you grip on, you put your neck up into it, and you do this for your neck strength. And after about 4 or 5 sets, I fainted because I forgot to breathe.
Oh.
So I'm there, here I am, mate, first day at Penrith training.
Forgot to breathe.
I was going, ooh, this is spinning me out a bit. Ooh. And the first person to pick me up was Royce and Matt Goodwin. And I remember Simo said, hey, big fella, just got to make sure you breathe in these things. He goes, like, I said, so next time, yeah, but Royce, Royce, man, Royce and Brandy, to me, they're Penrith. They are what put us on the map. Obviously, you know, I'm biased because that's my era. Before it, we had the Morans of the world, and Johnny Farragher will go down in history as the accident, but what a great man he is. And since we've gone, then the 03 and the legacy, and now the current side's legacy will live on forever. And it's just nice to know that you had some small say in the way that the Panthers club has ended up. And Royce was our first international, first Australian player. And I think that's very special because, you know, the kid from Goolagong or Gerringong, not where he's from, I always say out there somewhere, he worked his ass off to be the best player he was. And
didn't he just?
Just every ounce of everything he had, he would put on that footy field and taught us to do it. That's what he taught us.
He's very infectious, Royce.
Yeah, he is. Great
bloke. I love his grit and determination. And
plenty of that. Tough man, and obviously fighting a battle now that we've all rallied around for. And saw him recently at. I was watching my young bloke last weekend, and I saw Royce, and he's looking good. He's looking fine. He's still a smart ass as always, and but yeah, some footy triple A's we've been on together, and then I went to the Western Reds, and because I left Penrith in pretty shit circumstances in '92, I had a year at Balmain, which I didn't enjoy, even though I enjoyed the insights of Alan Jones. You know, that was something I never thought I'd get the chance to do. That was just to pick his brain at different things outside of footy, and then I'd sign with the Reds for 3 years, and then when the Reds went belly up. Most of the team went to Melbourne. The Reds went to Melbourne as their new franchise, and I was 30, so quickly realised that they didn't want me. I thought, well, the only place I can go is Penrith. So I rang Royce. He said, "Yo, big fella." He goes, "I don't know. You burnt some bridges when you left." He goes, "You're going to have to, you know, jump across a lot of hot fires to get back here." I said, "I'll do anything it takes. You know, I just want to get back." So he rang me about a week later and said, "Yep, you got to do this, you got to do that." And I said, I'm back. And so, first time I ever played front row was when I come back to Penrith in '98. He said, "You're going to be a front rower. I'm going to put you on spasmodically. You know, 10 minutes here, 20 minutes there. I don't want the old MG. I want a new MG who can help blokes like Tony Pullatua and Frank Pullatua, and Craig Gower and Ned Kadich and Reece Wesser. I want you to be that bloke, the mentor." And that was, again, the first time I'd walked down that path. You know, I'd find myself staying later in the gym to help a young kid out. I'd go out in the field and catch the balls put bombs up for the fullbacks. And this was something I'd never done in my life. I was always in, shower, let's go to the pub. Let's go.
Yeah.
You know, there's beer to be drank. But coming back to Penrith were 3 of my most enjoyable years of my whole career. And it was thanks to Royce.
Yeah. Well, on to that 91 grand final with Royce, and you spoke about the discipline side. It was back chat, wasn't it? I
called the touch judge a cheat
in the GF.
In the GF, because we got the feeling in 1990 that we weren't the NRL or the ARL's or whoever they were, the New South Wales Rugby League's favourite team. We just thought that we weren't getting a lot of the calls. We're a satellite city out there. We thought that the city teams were getting, and it was all wrong. It was, you know, you look back now, it's still happening these days. Still got coaches saying that their team's getting robbed.
Yeah, and there's a reason behind how you want to drive a narrative and drive a mentality.
Of course. So
I get that. It might not be true, but I understand why coaches want to push it.
Yeah.
And areas want to push it as well.
Yeah, and that's a good thing you say that we did control the narrative. And so it was 12-6 at half time. The difference this year between the year before was that Royce's last game.
Yeah.
And Royce went around to each man and basically we were crying before we went back out in the second half against the Raiders. Everyone's just going, come on, how can we let this team beat us again in the same way? And about 10 minutes into the second half, we got the ball, or they had the ball coming out of their own end, and Nobby Clark tackled someone and dislodged the ball. The touch judge ran on, we picked it up, scored 12-all. Touch judge come on, Martin Weeks. We called him TV Weeks because he only come on for TV games. But that was just a nickname. I ended up, a side note for that, he was, Martin Weeks was a Perth boy. So when I was at Western Reds, we drank at the same pub, the Korean Hotel. I lived in the same suburb as him. And I got in trouble over there as well because I threw a water bottle in, but I was mad. So he's come on. I said, you're an effing cheat, man. You are cheating. You don't want us to win this comp. He told Billy Harrigan I called him a cheat, and he said, did you? I said, mate, he is. Oh, no. I doubled down. He goes, you're off. Go. I went, my heart, for that brief second, stopped. I went, what? In a grand final, he goes, 10 minutes. I went, thank fuck for that. So I walked up the race at the Sydney Footy Stadium, and as I'm walking up, I could feel someone behind me. I knew who it was, but I didn't want to look around. It was Gus, our coach. And he goes, well, here we are. Wow. He said, grand final Symbian, that's rare. It's a rarity. He said, but you can sit here and feel sorry for yourself, or you can do something when you get back out there, because they're not going to let them score while you're off. And I can guarantee you that we're not going to let them get out of their half. And as I watched the game back many times, he was true to his word, because our forwards, Paul Dunn, Paul Clark, Barry Walker, Royce, Cardi, they all just lifted, man, and bashed the shit out of the Raiders forwards pack. And then I come on fresh. It was like they went,
yeah.
So I owed it to them to step up, and I did without being, an egomaniac. I had two good plays, and I wasn't supposed to be in a play which I got the ball and threw a ball around to Freddie, who gave the Wiz the score, 12-all. And then right at the end of the game, the late great Scotty Gales gone for a short dropout, and I knew it was going to come to me. I said, okay, just ease into it, dive on it, and then the game's over. I said, no, it's come flying to me. I said, fuck this, I want to get it, I want to score. So I've just started sprinting towards it. It's bounced right in my chest, and I'm through. Mal Meninga's there back waiting for me. And I was about to dive over the line and score. I heard, MG. Royce is outside me. I've passed the ball to him, and when he dived in that corner, it's the most euphoric I've ever felt in my life. I screamed that loud, like, yeah. I fractured my larynx.
Did you actually?
I fractured my larynx. I couldn't speak for 2 weeks. Like as I said earlier in this chat, I've had 5 kids, and every one of them has been beautiful and a special moment. But as far as a sporting field goes, representing your country is amazing for the first time. I remember being in Avignon in front of 300 people, crying that I had the coat of arms on my chest. I remember my first Origin game playing at Lang Park and going through Caxton, but that moment that he scored that try, especially after the year before, I'm on the field, and I used to always watch blokes who got beaten in grand finals bawling their eyes out, and I always promised myself never be that bloke. Try stopping it. You try stopping it. I dare you to try stopping it. If you. So I'm there bawling, the camera's right on me going, oh, here I go. This is going to be on the front page. It was. So the next year, the 4 of us went on the Kangaroo Tour, myself and Brandy and Freddie and Cardi, and we come back with a different resolve. We changed our jerseys. We got beaten 4 times that year in 91 with a formed team, and Royce's departure was the icing on the cake. He should have got man of the match in that game. He was the best player on the field. He scored 2 tries. He hadn't scored 2 tries in a game, I don't think, ever in his career. But he saved it for the grand final, and because of him, we won the comp. And what a celebration. Wow. I was that intent on celebrating that I lost my passport and couldn't play in the World Club Challenge. Still looking for it. If you find it somewhere, Mum, just let me know. And I'll
Why did you need your passport to buy?
No, to the World Club Challenge. I didn't want to. I lost mine. I didn't want to go. We're supposed to play Wigan. Yes, I said I'm on the way to the airport. I go. I've lost it. And they go, oh, yeah, sure. They knew I didn't. Like, they're not stupid. But they went to England, I went to the Gold Coast with a few mates. Didn't pay for a drink for a month. It was awesome.
Good. Matt, it's insane that, because I can resonate with you, just the feelings that rugby league and professional sport can give you.
Yeah.
It's kind of...
It's cathartic.
It's amazing. Like, it makes grown men cry. And, you know, for people that have children, that's a huge moment, but one that is shared by many. But the highs and lows of professional sport is for so few. I often sometimes, like, when people talk about the game, and do you miss it and stuff like that, like, I know I'll never get that feeling ever again, but I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
but you know what? I even miss sometimes, like, caring about something so much that you feel like shit. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, man.
Like, and no doubt we don't know what the future's going to hold in terms of, like, our own health and you know the random events and what life can throw at you. But you sometimes even miss you miss having a common goal with people for something so euphoric, but also you miss losing a game that you should win. Yeah. And you know, when you because you care so much, and then you just like, I don't want to see anyone today. Yep. Yeah, that's and it's you know what, when you look back at your life, you go, oh, what a waste of a day that was. Days are so precious.
But that's the love. That's a love. That's the feeling.
It's about caring about something.
And that training run, when you first go back after a big loss on the Monday or Tuesday, when it's gone. And you go, okay, who we got next? Like, it's a very rare feeling to have. And everyone says, oh, you know, when you retire, what do you miss most? And I think walking into training on a day when you had ball work, not fitness. You know, when you just walked in with your bag and you knew you had you're going to do some weights and you're going to do some ball work, and then
like an easier day.
An easier day, you know, because I was a pretty good trainer when I was younger, but then as I got older, I kind of fell off it a bit. But now I own a gym. So.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I miss being young, and I'm only a couple of days. I miss wanting to be there, but miss caring about something so much that I'd be willing to act like a lunatic for it.
Well, that's what the kids bring you.
Yeah.
That's why kids.
But it's a little bit different.
No, I know exactly what you mean. I would never do it. I would never have done the things I do now if I didn't, like, even back then. If I didn't play footy, I'm not sure what I would have done.
Yeah.
I probably would have been a policeman. I don't know. I did my year 12, my year 10 work experience at the academy at Redfern. But I had the potential to fall off the rails if it wasn't for sport. I had the potential to fall off the rails if I didn't meet the right girl at the right time. And all these things are kind of sliding door moments.
Yeah, and part of professional sport is some of the uncontrollables as well. So in terms of, like, moving on, you said you moved to play for Wests. Was that
the Maggie? The Tigers? Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
well, that was only because I left Penrith in not good terms after a bit of a tragedy in my life and in our lives, because everyone was affected by it. And the last thing on my mind was footy. But the hierarchy at Penrith wanted me to play a couple of weeks after, and I didn't want to. And they said, well, you know, your contract's up. Then I said, oh, good. So I was in a bit of a limbo for a while. Then I went to Balmain, and, you know, I didn't love the game then. I didn't, because I was playing for the wrong reasons. I was playing to put a roof over my head and my wife's head. You know, we got married at the end of '93, and so I now had a different purpose as well. So yeah, it's funny life. It's funny. It's how, look, I'm 55 now, and I'm still learning. I'm still learning every day about, you know, and I think you've got to. I think you've got to learn something. You know, nothing too profound, but just something about, you know, even radio. I'm learning different tricks off Mick Malloy. I'm learning off my kids. I'm learning off my wife. and I think I enjoy it.
Do you think? Sorry, can I ask? Is that a new trait of openness?
Of course it is.
Did you have that when you? Because
no.
It's strange, that isn't it?
Yeah. I never had it as a player. I would go to a shell.
Openness to learn, that fixed mentality of I'm right, I know what I'm doing. Like, for even when I'm trying to think back to like when you're a player, if a coach came in with a new idea, would you sort of the autopilot be to shun it?
Yep. No, I don't want anything different. I want to stay I'm happy. If you're not, I don't want to play left side. I want on the right, or I don't want to go. I don't want to be off the bench. For the team.
But if an idea, if you discovered it yourself, or
you go with
it, isn't it?
It's amazing.
Fucking nuts.
It's amazing. And we go through. We went through different. I went through different phases of my life. And the phase I'm at right now is one of the most happy that I've been. I think because my kids are all at ages now where they're self-sufficient. They've got myself and my wife's morals and kindness and ruthlessness and in life that they can fend for themselves. But they've also got I've got a lot of close mates that I really value their time and energy, because I believe that we all should have friends to talk to outside of our family. Yeah. You need to have that kind of a once a week to catch up with the mates. Like gone on the day of the benders. I don't have a bender anymore. Benders I can't handle it. Once I'm midnight, I turn into a pumpkin at midnight. So I'm in bed, with my slippers on at 5 to 12. But it's just important, I think, for both me and my wife. I encourage. She's got a set of friends that she's had since kindergarten. She sees them once a month for lunch and dinner. I love that. I love the fact that they're having fun doing that, and I love the fact that I can do it with my mates as well.
Yeah. But just back to going over to West.
The Western Reds or the Tigers?
No, with the Tigers. Sorry, with the Tigers. You had Alan Jones. That must have been.
Well, he was the number one star in Sydney at the time for radio. He was the number one man.
He's coaching.
He was coaching Tigers
and number one man. It's fun. It's just it's hard to wrap your head around that. I guess some of the younger listeners would just be like, "What?
Yeah, it'd be like
2 jobs."
It'd be like these days,
like Trent Robinson, or
it'd be like Trent Robinson doing AM radio,
or Ivan Cleary.
Ivan doing Triple M breakfast. Yeah, it is. It's just unfathomable. But he had such an insatiable appetite for everything that he thought he could do it all. And in the end, I think that the radio overtook it, and he realised that you've got to be a lot more thorough as a footy coach to get results. Yeah. But as far as a mentor, man, he was wow. I remember I had a bit of a falling out with Gus Gould. After my departure in '92, and '93 come around, and I was playing for Balmain. I was playing okay footy, wasn't. But I made the City Origin team when they picked them. So they play City Origin, Country Origin, then you play the kind of a game to play for Origin. So I was still in the state of Origin type of realm and thinking. So I was still living in Penrith, and I remember I had this little car it was a Charade. And I'm driving down the M4 on the way to Leichhardt Oval, and I heard on the radio there's a big prang at the end of the freeway. So I went the long way, Victoria Road. And I've turned up the training about 10 minutes late. And I hadn't seen Gus for about 6 months, but I was ready to take my position in the team. And when I walked in, I saw Benny Elias and Ciro. They were both part of the City Origin team as well. And they kind of looked at me and then went, "Oh shit, he's here." Because what had happened before that is Gus Gould said to them that I'm going to get the sack. Guy won't be in the team because he's late. He's not here again. And so I've rocked up, and Jeff Carr, I said, "Jeff, where's my gear?" Everyone's in the tracksuit getting a photo. They said, "Oh mate, have you spoke to Gus?" I said, "No." He said, "I don't know what to say to you," because he said, anyway, so Gus is next door, and I went in and said, "Mate, where's my gear?" He goes, "No, you're out." He goes, "You're late." And I said, "Man, fuck it, I told him." He goes, "No, I don't care." I kind of, Alan Jones rang and said, "What happened?" I said, "Mate, this is what happened." He said, "I've got a car to pick you up now." Picked me up. I went back to his factory at Newtown, worked out our next plan of attack, got on the phone to John Laws, who was a partner at the same radio station as Jonesy, and gave my version of events live on AM radio. Like, this is surreal.
Yeah.
I've had a fight with my coach, my grand final winning coach. He's now the Origin coach, which he just dumped me from. I'm driving home in Alan Jones's hire car to talk to John Laws, the boy from Wayland. It was a spin out. Yeah. What a spin out! And then the year after that, I was playing for Umina, then Western Reds. Like, it was just this rugby league thing has been a journey, man. It's been one of them things that I look back on, and I actually got asked recently to write a book about it, and I thought, you know what, this time of my life, I don't think I could give it justice that it deserves, and I don't think it's fair on my kids to be bringing shit up that's scandalous and that they have to. Because if I want to do it, I'm going to do it with the boots and all. You know, in other words, don't do it. You know, that's kind of why these avenues are really good to get express yourself. You know, podcasts and vlogs and stuff. People can see this now and see that I'm a passionate person.
No doubt.
Very passionate. If you're my friend forever. If you're my enemy, you're my enemy forever. And it's going to take a lot for us to change them type of scenarios. But I love these. I love to talk. I love to tell my story because a lot of people don't know why I was so crazy. I tell them the story about what happened with Mum. You know, I get.
There's always a reason as to.
Of course, there is.
Like, we've got a genetic potential, but we've also got an environment that shapes us as well, and that's usually what is we're products of our environment. But some people, there's personality type, genetics, which can stoke a fire as well. Speaking of fires, when you left Penrith, can you tell us about what happened with your mum's bin being blown up?
Oh, far out. So I was playing for Balmain and I was staying over at their house, which is right across the road from my high school. And Mum was saying that there's stuff arriving in the mailbox, and there's some pretty passionate Panther fans out there, you know, and they didn't like the fact that I left, and there's a lot of emotion running high around that time. So I'm laying in bed one night and I hear this big explosion. Sounded like a friggin' bomb went off, honestly. It probably did. Well, it did, because Mum and Dad and me and Meegs ran out to see that the wheelie bin had been blown to pieces. So there was also a letter in the letterbox, which was kind of, you know, like the old Psycho movies, which is newspaper cuttings. Oh,
yeah.
Piss off to Balmain now. Like, you're not wanted. I went, fuck me. So that was a bit close to, you know, home. The fact they knew where my mum lived and the fact that they knew where I lived, I think I never really got to the bottom of that, but I think it was just a couple of, you know, tragic Panthers supporters showing their hate of me going to another club.
Man, that's crazy. That, like, I know, like, today we have the people on social. Everybody's everyone's got access to.
I'm glad I didn't have that when I played. If I had social media when I played,
you would have.
I would have. That would have done me in.
Yeah,
I would not have been able to handle it.
Yeah,
no way in the world. I don't know how players these days do it, because everyone, as you say, has got an opinion, and it's very hard.
I guess because though it's so you think back to who you were, but you'd be a different person if you had it.
Oh yeah,
do you know what I mean? So you'd
temper a lot of things.
Yeah, if you actually threw it in, then and like take you back to you in your mid-20s, and someone's going, "Hey, MG, this," you'd be like, "Right, let's go."
What's your address?
Yeah, let's go. Okay, let's go.
Yeah.
But obviously, these players have come through where it's now part of the norm of society, so they know they can't be like, "Well, let's go then." So
as much as they want to,
and of course,
you know what? And when they say that, like, it's like when I played, 99% of the fans are awesome.
Yeah.
They're awesome. And that 1% is blowing bins up or sending or trolling you on social media these days. It's the 1% who usually get the most attraction. And but I you know, the worst for me was when I used to go to a pub in my fiery days. I'd be there with a couple of mates and I could see this happening. Like it was like in my peripheral, I knew what was happening. There'd be a table of tradies over there and they'd be, an hour would go, they'd get a little bit more boisterous, whatever that word is, boisterous. And then 2 hours later, I'm at the bar and the tallest one of them was walking past, looking at their mates, seeing how tall I was, ready for a fight, like ready to get it on.
Like sizing you up.
Sizing me up. And then inevitably it would end up in a fisticuff in the car park. Let's go. What are you doing? And I reckon without a word of a lie, I would have had 40 fights because of that in my life.
And that was just part
was part of it. Like
part of life.
How many times in my life a bloke said, let's go in the car park?
All right.
I'd say, okay. I've had 12.
To be fair, you know what? At least it's dealt with like that.
Well,
with these, rather
it was
than,
never anything.
Do you know what I'm saying though? Because it could be like you'd be a figurehead within the community where it's like, you know, with a bit of a reputation.
But I was back then. I was a figurehead who had like 3 or 4 assault charges. You know, and only got charged. The one that I did was the one that I was guilty was that I just come back from the Kangaroo Tour. And we're up at Central Coast Leagues Club and these off-duty bouncers were hanging around. You could tell that, here we go again. It must have been like an attraction, a magnet to trouble.
Do you reckon it's because of your size and your presence?
I think
that
so.
It's like people go,
people see you on the
I want to fight the biggest person in the room. Like I want a challenge.
No doubt. No doubt.
Show everyone what I'm made of. Like I'll get this scalp.
Yep. No doubt.
And then they knew you were a footballer as well.
Yep.
Hang around on their patch. Kind of,
yeah. So, I was at Central Coast Leagues Club and the bouncers, they just, was near my mate and then we started a fight and then the whole club, the lights went on in the club and these bouncers who were hitting my mate. I chased one of them and had a fight with him. And then the police have come in and there's one on one leg, one on the other leg, one on my arm, one on this arm and hit me on the shins with the battens. And you know what was the most scary thing about all that? I'm claustrophobic, and they put me in the back of the paddy wagon.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking they're going to go in the water here. Something's going to happen. They're going to get a puncher. This is what I'm thinking. We're in the back of a paddy wagon, not about how much trouble I'm in.
Yeah.
Because what I've just done.
Don't
go anywhere near water.
Yeah. Just a quick one, lads. Just make sure we take the safe route.
Straight to the station, please. Yeah. Don't do the scenic route. Because I was shit scared of going in the water and I couldn't get out of the paddy wagon. That was all going through my head. So
what a way to go.
So I pleaded guilty to that one, and but I was, I'm not proud of.
No, well, mate,
I'm not proud. It's something that I think my kids know, my wife knows how fiery I used to be. They know that I'm not that same person anymore. And you've got to.
But also, mate, like. Who's had the perfect life where they've never been in trouble?
No one.
And it's you know what? For some people say, oh, you're a role model. Well, you know what? You're a person of importance. You're a person of influence. You've made the wrong thing and you get punished. And what do you do next? Because everybody that's listening out there, got kids or their own struggles themselves, like to just expect no adversity and expect not to make wrong decisions with the freedom of choices that we have.
Yeah.
Like, and the influences that we had and how different moments with different emotions will manifest in different actions. It's like, well, it's how we learn from that. Yeah, if you keep doing it, then
then you're in jail.
Yeah.
Then you're behind.
And even that, there's people that go to jail and come out and reform.
Reform.
Not everybody does, but
that's right. And I was I think the bottom line is that when you're so aggressive on the footy field as I was, and played outside the rules and regulations, and you expect that to manifest into a scenario outside of the footy field where, okay, well, I'm 19 and I'm doing this on the footy field. Well, guess what? I'm going to do it off the field as well because I feel like it makes me feel good.
Yeah.
It makes me feel good being the number one defensive bloke in our team that no one runs at. But where do you turn it off? Where do you say, hey,
well, that's it for a lot of people, or for some they can't, and some footballers do find themselves in trouble. But then when your job description, by definition, is to stop people who are running full pelt at you.
Oh wow!
Like that's your job description for game, 80 minutes of a week, and then all of a sudden you're expecting this like person to just go down, get back into society and just casually go about their business, and sometimes that's going to go wrong by definition of the job description.
Yeah. Look, I don't regret much in my life, and I wouldn't regret anything. I regret probably not playing as many Origin games as I would have liked to.
Yeah,
I only played 3 of them, and my last one was obviously the controversial one with Wally. But apart from that, I think I look back on my career as a football player, and I'm happy about it.
Yeah,
I'm satisfied. I ticked every box there was to tick in the code, and now life after footy is, as I said before, with the kids. I love my family. I love their presence. I love being with my wife. She's my best friend. I love I'll get on. My dad's turned into a bit of a role model for the fact that he kind of, growing up, he wasn't per se that role model. But he's just dealt with his 3rd bout of cancer. He had prostate, bowel, lung.
Wow.
And you know what? He just does it, and he gets his treatment, and without any fanfare, and without any worry, without any discourse. That mum's worried, but and the way he's handled things is an example, and it makes me think, wow, he's a special bloke.
Yeah. It's important that you've got those positive role models still, and it's that
I'm still learning. He's 75. I'm still learning off him.
Yeah, that's good. And I guess, mate, even hearing you talk about looking back and being proud of things or whatever, and would you change things? But you know what though, like, first off, you can't. But you're better for the experience. Like, how. You know those experiences, and as difficult it is at the time, that resilience, those roots go deeper into the person you become. And ideally you don't want to go through those situations in order to get that resilient mindset, but for some people you really need to. And even, mate, the fact that you moved from very proud Western Sydney man, you didn't move when you played for Balmain. The Super League war then starts, and you head out even further west.
The Golden West.
The Golden West.
Yes. Well, if you said to me in 1991, after I won the comp, that by 1995 you were going to leave Penrith, you're going to play for Balmain, you're going to play for your minor, and guess what? You're going to play for the Western Reds. I would have said, come on, man.
Yeah. Well, sorry, just with the you minor, pardon the ignorance. What, where, how?
My uncle was there.
Where
mine was on the Central Coast.
Right.
So Central Coast Rugby League, pretty strong. Still not as strong as it once was at the moment, because obviously no one is around the country game is dying. So I had a year kind of to fill, and Wayne Pearce come on as coach when Alan Jones got the sack in '93. And we done our first camp at Nelson's Bay, and it was quickly evident that we weren't going to get along as player coach. Junior doesn't eat cheeseburgers for a start. I love a cheeseburger after training. Come on, Junior. And you know what?
First session. Oh, yeah. God. Here we go.
And Junior said, like I said, mate, what do you reckon? He goes, no, it's not. I said, no, me either. I don't think it's going to work. I said, but you know what? Thanks. We went amicably. And then I twiddled my thumbs a bit, and my uncle said, why don't you come and play for your minor? I said, come on, man, it's bush footy. I just play for my state, my country, won a comp. And here I am, 2-3 years later playing it. I said, no. So about 6 weeks passed, and I got really bored. And I said, hey, is that offer still on the table? He said, yep. I said, I want $1,000 a week, cash. He goes, yep, no worries. And back in 1994, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's like $6,000. So I remember my first game, and I'm sitting in this. Usually they get about 300 people to a game. This first home game against Terrigal, there was about 7,000 people there. Helicopters turn up with news.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was manic. All because they can't believe that I'm there.
Yeah,
like, here I
yeah.
am, and I remember the first time I ran the ball. I remember running out and just seeing how deep the crowd was. I went, wow, this is unbelievable. And I remember my first tackle. I reckon every player came in to fucking give me some. Like, get back, you bastard, back to where you come from. Even so indignant that I looked up and the last thing that I saw was the ball boy kicked me in the back and said, yeah, get I went, wow. So I had about 12 weeks of that and we ended up playing the grand final. This is the irony of it. Steve Carter, who was my teammate at Penrith in 91, he was doing the commentary for Central Coast Radio, the grand final that I was playing for Umina against Wyong. What about this one day I'm playing against Gosford, and because the crowd were only what was separating me from the crowd was a piece of rope.
Yeah.
And everything they said I could hear, everything. And one day it got too much. I just went, fuck this. They said, MG, hit up, got the ball, ran. When I heard it, I went through the ball, Gosford, jumped the rope, chased this bloke up in the crowd, jumping over Eskies and going, "Get come here! I'll catch you, bastard! I'll tell you." And it was years later. It was years later when I was doing the grill team on Triple M, when this bloke who I was chasing rang up. He said, "I was the bloke who you chased." I went, "Oh, fuck, thank God I didn't catch her."
Yeah.
So I don't know what I would have done. Would have probably still been up there in jail. But yeah, that was one of them things I think that, as you talk about earlier, that a necessary evil that made me stronger from the fact that I did it.
Yeah.
Like I didn't want to be there forever.
Yeah.
I was there for 6 months, and it made me realise that, hey, my love of rugby league's still there. Let's go to Perth and let's dive in. My wife was heavily pregnant with our first kid. We went over to Western Reds and that was really good. Western Reds was kind of, we're out of sight, out of mind. And my brother then rang me up and said, look, I haven't made any of the Penrith Juniors rep squads. Maddie, this is. Do you think I can play over there with the Junior Reds? I said, I'll make a call. And I rang Peter Mulholland, who's one of the best blokes I've met in the game. And the Junior Reds coach was Peter Parr, who's now the boss of Knights. And they said, yep, tell your brother to come over. So he was over there with me and my wife, and my mother-in-law was there. My son was about to be born on February 12th. So life was good. Life was good. And then about 3 weeks into our tenure as the Western Reds, we got this memo saying by fax that we're going to Super League. And because what I didn't realise was that the Western Reds were paying the accommodation and airfares for all the players and teams that would travel to us. It wasn't subsidised by the NRL. So they were broke after 3 weeks. We were in peril. So we needed Super League. Yeah. So Super League came along. We signed with them. We aligned ourselves with them, which meant we lost a couple of players like Brad Mackay. But yeah, it was a roller coaster over there. It was I had 2 kids over there, and then that kind of links up with the story with Penrith when I come back to.
When you were there at Perth and the Super League war was happening, were you a part of any of those chats where it was like they were offering ridiculous
money, man? I went from owing a lot of money. So there's one game against the Entrance up at Umina, playing out against the Entrance, and I'm running out because the reserve grade would usually make a guard of honour for you. I'm running out, and through the guard of honour, this bloke gave me a summons to appear in court as I'm running on the footy field. Oh! I went. So I was in debt.
He said
he said you touched it.
Yeah, once they say Mark Geyer, and you go,
and he said, this is you.
Yeah,
and I went,
yeah.
I dropped it.
Yeah.
I said, I didn't touch it. Yeah, yes, you did.
You've been saved. Fucking hell, what a time to do it.
wow.
What a time to do that.
That was a spin out. So I had money everywhere because I just
so they was for
debt, for money, for cars, for
Yeah.
for whatever it was. So I signed on for Western Reds $180,000 a year, which back in '94 was a lot of money. Me and Brad Mackay were the two marquee signings for them. And 3 weeks into the comp, we said, okay, we've got a memo that News Limited were coming over. David Gallop was going to, I didn't know at the time who David Gallop really was because he was an accountant for News Corp. So we said they've got to meet you at the Sheraton at midnight. Rocked up. They went, the blokes who were on the bench for reserve grade went first. And there was one bloke called Eamon Edgar. I remember this vividly. He was on probably $7,500 a year. Well, he's the first one to come out, and he's doing fucking cartwheels, and then the backflip with a pike. I'm going, what's going on? He goes, I just got $150,000 a year. I went, what? So I went, my original figure of what I had just went up by 5 because I was only going to ask for about 200 grand. So I said to him, towards the end of it, I said, I want 5, 6, 7, and I want 100 sign-on.
In what was this,
95 for 96 season, 96.
Yeah.
A lot of money. Like $1 million now, I suppose. They said, yep.
Maybe it'd be more than that.
It would be, but I got out of debt. I bought a house on the beach. I bought his and her jet skis, which I used once because I could.
Yeah,
because I could.
Oh, that would be.
And it was and.
So you signed for 5, 6, 7 plus 100K sign on. Oh, and you got that check there and then.
Got it there and then. Straight in the bank.
Mate, that is.
What
was that? 30 years.
It was 28 years ago.
Yeah, so mate, that's way more than $1 million. And
everyone,
way more than because it usually, like with inflation, normally doubles every 10 years.
And then you're thinking about the blokes from like Ricky Stewart's.
That's like 4 million, almost like 4 million these days.
Yeah,
3.5, 4.
It was ludicrous money, but what it did, Super League was such a phase that I'm so glad I was right in the middle of it because I needed it bad. I needed it bad because that was. But then my contract ran out with Super League while I was at Penrith, so then I signed on to Penrith for $60K. So I was back to reality in my last year. Then when I left, so back to Royce. The reason I retired from footy in my last season, which was 2000, I didn't see this, but it was about 2 weeks before they were about to go back to pre-season training. And Royce rings me up and says, big fella, can I see you in the office before training today? I said, yeah, sweet. And I thought, he'd tell me what kind of role I'm going to do. Am I going to play back row, front row? Does he want me to do some mentoring, And I walked into Royce's office and there's a TV set up here like that camera and a TV set up there like that camera. And I could notice that this TV had me in 91 in my prime, doing like a little montage. This one had me in 2000 playing. And the first thing I did, I sat down with Royce like this and I said, why are you pausing that one? Why is that going slower? He goes, no, that's what you're looking like playing. That's how you've, I said, fuck, what? Am I that slow? He goes, big fella, yes. I want you to retire. I said, well, if that's how I look, I'm retiring. I'm not even going to think about it. So he saved me from myself. I wanted to play. I had nothing in the pipeline. I had no plan B. I thought, so I went and worked with so I ended up retiring, had a press conference, blah, blah, blah. I said, Royce has just basically saved myself from myself. So I went at a press conference and then my wife and me sat down and said, okay, I've got 3 kids, under 5. What are we going to do? I said, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I said, I'm not going to say no to anything, to builders labourers, to dogmen on a crane, to brekkies labourers, to sideline eye, whatever comes my way. And it was about, I don't know, 2 weeks into retirement, and Luz Devanovic, who's still a prominent man in Penrith's future, he had a company called Scat Sportswear, and so for about 6 months I drove around to schools and sporting clubs with footy jerseys and tracksuits in the back of my car that he gave me on $700 a week. So that was what I was living on. And then I got a call from someone from Sunrise they said, would you be up for doing a Friday, driving into Channel 7, doing a Friday preview and then a Monday review each week with the footy season? And we'll do an AFL bloke from Melbourne. So I said, yep. On the way home from my first day on Sunrise, I got a call from C91.3 radio in Campbelltown. They said, we've just seen you on Sunrise. Can you do that for us as you're driving home? It was Rob Duckworth, who used to be on Triple M, who called me. I said, done. So then I started getting calls from ABC Radio and Toohey and Sideline Eye for this and that. And I just said no, didn't say no to anyone. I just said yes, 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 yes. And you get to a stage when you say yes, 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 that you can pick and choose then.
Yeah.
The ones that you really want to, the ones you're passionate about. So yeah, I started doing 2SM, Talking Sport that was my real job from 3 till 7, 4 days a week. Then I found myself in charity. I found myself being drawn because in 2010, while I was at Triple M, the Queensland floods happened. And my co-hosts then, Gus Wallen and Chris Page, they were up there when I was at Terrigal on holidays. They flew up to scope it. And they said, this is bad, man. This is real bad. So I got back from holidays and I flew up there with a producer, Woody. We went around and looked at the devastation. I said, we've got to do something. Then I found out this story where a young bloke had passed away, Jordan Royce, in the floods, had hold of his mum or dad and let go and drifted off and drowned. I said, we're going to put a footy game on for him. And
that's the Legends of Origin, right?
And I went back to Triple M. I said, I don't know what we're going to do, but I'm going to start right. I've got New South Wales players here. I've got Queensland players there. I'm going to start at the top and ring every player and see if they want to play a game of footy at Parramatta Stadium. Ring Parramatta Stadium. And Triple M got right behind me. Parramatta Stadium said, we'll give it to all you for free. NXS came, $20 tickets. Every player, Jimmy, who I spoke to down that list, not one of them said no. Not one of them said no. Said, where have I got to be?
I think rugby league people are generally like that, but they need a leader to guide them. Like, you know,
well, that was it.
Even now you can imagine that. Yeah, but you can imagine someone now ringing you up for a worthy cause. I'll come. But we're people that are willing to act. We just need a little bit of leadership, and you did that then.
It was. I didn't think about then what it was. I didn't think.
You're just a man of action.
I've had kids. I've got 3 kids. I had 5 kids by this stage, and I could just imagine, like in a flood, losing my kid that way. You know, it's horrific. So yeah, that's kind of when my first foray into charity began, and then I just found myself loved helping others that were less fortunate, because it's such an easy thing to do. Your time is, you know. And I encourage, you know, my kids to be that generous with other people as well, and then they're the lessons in life that I am most proud of.
Yeah,
my kids take note, and it rubs off on them without me saying do this, do that.
Yeah,
because it's more the subconscious prompting that makes them who they are.
Is that something you've expanded your charity work, or you look to do more of in the future?
Well, I've got 2 daughters with epilepsy. I do a lot for them. You know, I just don't say I don't usually say no to charities. You know, if they need me, they're asking me for a reason. And even if it's as simple as getting a footy jersey signed by the Panthers or the Tigers or the Eels, I've got contacts who can do that. So I don't mind charity at all. I love charity work. It's charity work, especially these days with so many organisations. Charity work has to be one of them things that you know that company or that charity brand are doing the right thing by the people they're doing it by.
Yeah.
And I just dive in. I say, yep.
Yeah.
There's not many that aren't.
Yeah, you're right. It's really admirable what you do.
Thanks, brother.
Something to admire and aspire to be like, because we can get caught up in life. I get it. We get caught up in life, but you know, we as people in the media, as former footballers, we get a pretty cool life. But it's important to share that and help people out. We've got to help people out. Really do. Origin, that iconic moment.
Yeah.
Now I've spoke with you off the air about this. Did you feel a little bit let down by
Yeah, of course I did. Yeah.
New South Wales?
When you get told, and I was speaking earlier in this chat, you know, I was told by many people that I was to be the hitman of a lot of things, and in '91 it was no different. I got picked in the first game of '91, and I had a pretty quiet game, but I was just coming off a suspension, so I was a little bit in myself. You know, I didn't want to be. I'm sick of that bloke who keeps going outside the lines and being told to, but getting suspended. You know, paying the price. So I played. We got beat 4-2 up there at Lang Park, 4-0. Something was really low scoring game, and I had a really quiet game, and I didn't think I'd get picked for the second game in Sydney. So when the teams eventually got picked, I was, and we went to Randwick or Coogee to have our team meeting, get our photos, and meet the boys and all that type of stuff. And as I was leaving, a couple of the selectors motioned for me to come back and let the others went to talk to me. So I'm standing there, and they said, "Mate, come over here." And they sat down, and one of them said, what happened in that first game? Like, you're very lucky to make the second. I said, "I realise that." I said, "But in the first game, you don't understand what it's like playing with suspensions over your head. It's hard to give your all." And they said, "What do you mean? That's Origin, man." I said, "Still, it's a game, footy." They said, "When was the last time that someone got sin binned or sent off in Origin?" And I had to think. I said, "They haven't." They said, "Well, it's different rules for Origin. You've got to play by different rules." I said, "So what do you mean? They go out and do what I want?" They go, "Yeah, do what you want. There'll be no ramifications." I went, "Fuck, yes, there is a God." So I'm sitting in the dressing room before the game. It's pouring rain. I used to hate playing in rain, but there's this ease over me at the moment that whatever I do out there, the blokes in the maroon jerseys are going to cop it because I'm allowed to. So I was, shoulder charge here, a late tackle there, and right on half time, the siren went, and Steve Walter's got the ball, and just ran up and killed time, done a voluntary tackle in front of me. And I went, rabbit chopped the back of the head. Stupid from me, but then out of everywhere, it just exploded. There's punches thrown and people running, and Benny Elias and Steve Walters and Ian Roberts and Gary Coyne, and it was a Barney. And then out of the corner of my eye, I can just see this figure running towards me, angry, man, angry. And he's saying, "Guy, are you this? Guy, are you that?" And it's fucking Wally Lewis. He knows my name. He's not calling me Nick. And my first thought was, wow, that was my first thought, because he was the best player in the game at that stage. He was the number one. He was the king. He's 32, I'm 22. He's end of his career, I'm starting mine. And he's come up and faced me, and then I got a little bit angry because he's calling. I said, "Right, fucking stop calling names, hey?" And he said something like, "Well, come on, throw one," or something like that. I don't know. And David Manson, the ref, saying, "Benny, cool him down, mate, or otherwise he's going." And Benny goes, "No worries, Dave. MG, hit him." Hit him right now. Well, you won't get another chance. "No worries, Dave. MG, hit him." And I didn't. And I'm kind of glad I didn't, because I don't think we'd still talk about it to this day if there was punches thrown. Like, the iconic thing about it was with that. Yeah, it's 5'8" against that firebrand. Who would have won? Well, I can tell you who would have won. It wouldn't have been him. Not the fight. But I respected him that much that I could not believe. And that's the thing about it, Jimmy. Like, I look back at my career, I only played 3 Origins. But every time Wally Lewis is mentioned in Origin now, from till we're long gone and our grandkids are our age, my name won't be far behind him. And
should you have played more?
I definitely should have played more. I was made for Origin. I was made for Origin. And unfortunately, things happened that curtailed that. But that, as I said earlier to you, that's my biggest regret, because I loved being in that arena. I loved the camp before it. I loved everything about it.
With Wally, didn't you bump into him a little bit later, like 6 weeks later in the Gold Coast?
I got 6. So I went to the judiciary. No, so after that game, we won. Michael O'Connor's kicked the goal on the sideline, went through the middle of the post. We won 14-12. And at the end of the game, I'm sitting in the dressing room with my dad, having a beer, and all the media have just flocked towards me. And I thought, I've got man of the match. Dad says, I don't think so. And he pissed
Smart
off.
man, obviously, yeah.
He pissed off. And they were going, mate, how do you feel that I went, the coach, Graham Loaf, he's saying I should be in jail for what I've been doing on the footy field, and all their team, they want to fight, they want to meet me at the back of the stadium. And I went, oh, wow. Well, I've got man of the match. So I went to the judiciary. They said, mate, what was going on with you? And I told them that I was told by selectors to do that. And they said, who told you? I said, oh, come on.
Yeah.
Really? They know who they are. And I don't mind they told me. Like, I'm a big boy. I didn't have to do it if they didn't. I enjoyed doing it. So I got 6 weeks suspension and didn't play Origin again. The first game back was against Gold Coast, who their captain coach was W. Lewis. And I looked at the team sheet, and about an hour before kickoff, he rubbed himself out. I went, oh, wow, what a soft cock. I said, come on, man, you got to. So here I am, convinced that I'm going to take him on at the Gold Coast Seagulls, in the car park at Seagulls, and finish this once and for all. So I'm standing there watching all their team coming through, and still no Wally. Where finally I'm just standing there and got a tap on the back of the shoulder. And I looked around, and it was Wally with a jug of beer and 2 schooners glasses. He said, come on, let's go and sort this out the right way. And I went, wow. So from that day forward, we were best mates.
That's quality, that.
Done things together. Like, good on him, you know, because I'm young and firebrand. He said, this kid needs a bit of it. Because then my first speaking gig after that was up at Queensland for something up there, and Wayne Bennett was MC or getting interviewed. And he said, I can't believe what they've done to you. And I said, well, they did. And Wally said the same. Like, every time Wally gets interviewed, but that's a part of look. Am I still dirty? No. At the time, I was, yes, because I didn't realise that was going to be my last time I played Origin.
Yeah,
but it turned out it was.
Yeah. Mate, just quickly on the drinking side of things, I know you liked a good time, but it's been well documented you had a few struggles there with alcohol and drugs. And how did you overcome that?
Look, I just decided not to do it.
Was it you? So you didn't get professional help?
No,
it
was just me being a fuckwit. No, it was. You know, I went through a stage in my life where I was off the rails a bit.
And you just completely,
so
rather than going into it, I just want to know about how you fix yourself. It interests me.
As soon as I went to Perth with my wife, who was 8 months pregnant, I realised that somehow I had to make this person inside her stomach proud of me, and I wasn't going to do it the way I was acting. I had to man up.
Yeah, that was the catalyst for change.
Of course, it was. It was being responsible, having someone else to worry about but me.
Yeah,
because I was being a wanker.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. We are tight for time, but I want to talk to you quickly about what's happening now. Because Coxie's been into me, mate. You got to promote the wine. You got to promote the wine.
Oh, the Lupilli.
Yeah.
I should have bought a bottle. Jesus.
Maybe Coxie will sort me out next. Yeah.
I'll get you. Of course, a nice Blanco Shiraz. Look, I went out to Leeton last year, and I got an elbow operation. Thanks to the joys of rugby league. Had my funny bone taken out, so I went out there in a big bandage. Spoke at Leeton pub, and then a bloke called Frankie, who has this drink called Happy Days, which is basically port and lemonade together, tawny port. He asked me to have some of that, help promote it. I said, yeah, sweet. Went back this year, and he said, I forgot to tell you when I was out here last. You were out here last. My uncle's got a vineyard here called Lillipilly Wines. Can you have time to, when you come out, to spend some time and do a taste test and see what you think about it? So me and my mate Toby drove out, got there an hour before we were supposed to, tasted the wines, and they're beautiful wines. And because of COVID, they had basically shut them down because they had 38 cities in America they were distributing to.
Oh, yeah.
And they were distributing to China, where that all stopped. So for the first time in New South Wales, I'm proud to say that you can get Lillipilly wines. And I'm helping promote it. I don't promote things that I don't agree with and I don't love. And now there's a few of us, and my daughters are even helping us out with it. And Yeah. So if you're anywhere near the super cellars in Sydney, look us up, Lily Pilly Wines.
And you've also got your gym happening, and obviously your breakfast show with Mick Malloy. How are you finding that?
The gym is great because
it's all early morning stuff.
I'm
isn't
up
it?
at 3 a.m. every morning. I'm up at 3, so I've got to be in bed by no later than 9.
It's only 6 hours.
Yeah, I only get 6 hours. That's all I get. I usually wake up before my alarm. So with the gym, because our first class is at 4:45. My daughter and son, Logan and Montana, have basically taken the reins of the gym.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I turn up to train now. Some days when I do the radio show from home, which is every second week or so, I'll go to the gym at 4:45 in the morning, train, then go to the show. But the gym, I didn't think it'd be so profoundly. The joy I get from it by seeing people transform.
Yeah.
Not so, or definitely physically, but mentally. When you see that they finish a really hard session, they walk out with their endorphins buzzing around. They don't even know what most don't even know what an endorphin is. But when you see them just going, how was that?
It's that emotional high.
That's my fix of footy that we spoke about earlier about that footy fix. My high now gets when I train with people who are like minded and they go off in their way. It's a completely different day that I've got.
Yeah.
But that's still the same effect.
Yeah.
Brekkie Radio, Mick Malloy's, he's a superstar of radio. I'm very lucky to be working with him. It makes my job easier. You know, I've got Tash Belling, who's a beautiful girl, and Kat, Kat Lynch, who's the girl on the panel, who's had a big say in the way we do things. So enjoying life, mate. I wouldn't jump into anything that I didn't think I could cover.
Yeah. You
know, and I think with Triple M, I've got another year to go with that on Brekkie Radio and just see what happens.
What's the key to staying in the radio game or in the media game?
Transparency.
Post football, I'm just asking for a mate. That's
Transparency, being honest. When I first started, I was very opinionated. You know, and I realised that I had to be heard. So I'd say things that sometimes I didn't even agree with, but someone would grab onto it and use it as a quote. That soon got tiring, because it takes a lot of effort to do that and to take the backlash.
Yeah.
So you get to a situation where you don't have to be outlandish, you don't have to be controversial for the sake of being. You just got to be yourself.
Yeah.
You got to be yourself, because people know, especially on radio. Radio is the most immediate response you can get in any media. You know, I did TV for a while on Channel 9 and a bit of Fox, and a lot of that was just hurry up and wait. You know, you get there 3 hours before it, you get makeup, you're sitting around. You know, I enjoyed it, but I think I've got a good head for radio, so I'll stick to it.
Hey, just quickly, we spoke about the charity work you did. You got recognised the Order of Australia.
Yes, yeah. OAM
medal.
That was a proud moment.
Man, that's incredible.
It
really is.
Thank you, brother. I took my mum and dad to and my wife to the ceremony on Government House, and we were kind of like the Clampets. You know, mum and my wife were holding their shoes at the end of the day, drinking wine while I'm talking to the Murray Bashir, the Governor General. Dad's having a beer.
Quality.
Yeah,
that's quality.
I've got a good family. I've got good friends. I've got good work colleagues, and a lot of that has to do by who you pick.
And it's important to maintain that as well.
Very important.
All right, next. This segment of the show is brought to you by our good friends Tooheys. How do you feel?
Like a Tooheys.
Like Tooheys or two.
Or three.
Or three. Well, 6 again.
Like
go for a few. If football didn't exist, what would you do? What do you think?
Well, I was really good at soccer. Cricket and basketball. I was a junior rep.
Sporting?
Up until, but I was always drawn to be a policeman. I thought, I don't know. It's kind of a contradiction, I know, because of the...
When you said that before,
yeah,
I was kind of like...
I was always... I don't know. So I think I'd be either a policeman, a detective or something, or or playing basketball or cricket if it wasn't footy.
I think if I joined the police, I'd be a bent copper. Easily
Just
manipulated.
What's it over there? Oh, shit.
Double agent, you know.
Yeah, Johnny Brasco. You'd be Johnny Brasco.
Some of the evidence may go missing from time to time. Question two. I often think about this in terms of my life and decisions that I've made and the impact that it's had. And I'm not sure if you think about this as well. You spoke about it before. most impactful sliding doors moment? Were you ever wonder, well, if I hadn't have gone, what if or you'd chose the alternative?
Yeah, look, it was to a lesser degree. It was Mum getting like crying that made me get angry for the first time. I never felt that before. But I think coming back to Penrith after my Western Red stint was that moment where I went, okay, now that I've done being that hot-headed football player, I want to go back. And what Royce said to me on the phone about being a mentor really appealed towards me. I wanted to find out more about what that means. And when I come back to Penrith, being that mentor to these young guys coming through, it was so satisfying. It was just such one of them things that I'm so glad that I made that call to Royce and said, take me back. Because I was going to go to, I think, the new team. I was going to go to like Newcastle or somewhere, the Mariners or something like that.
Yeah, all right. So
coming back to
you
Penrith,
wonder what would have happened.
I had to really mend a lot of bridges when I come back.
Yeah.
And at the time I wasn't prepared to do it, but I bit down on my mouth guard and said, fucking do it, because your life's going to be easier if you do it.
And you had no professional help in terms of that intentional character reform. No one. It was just a natural, organic path.
My wife.
But there was no sit-down sessions of going like,
wife,
here's a situation that might manifest.
No, they tried. Here's
the hot head, here's the blue head, all that sort of dance. This is how you need to go. Here's how you walk away, or here's how you need to frame a situation in order to go. Whoop.
No, nothing like that.
It was just.
It was a realization that I knew that I
had penny drop light bulb moment.
All them. You know, and having a partner like I've had for, you know, nearly been married 30 years, been together 35, 36. You know, she's been as much a part of my life as my life has been a part of me.
I think it's strange because I think that's the outlier. I think most people need that professional guidance, which is but outliers are interesting.
Oh, look, I recommend it.
Yeah.
I recommend it if you're struggling. Like, man, not everyone's like.
Don't just wait for it to happen.
Because it won't. It won't. Majority will tell you that it won't. You need someone to help professional. Yeah, of course. Yeah. I was just different. Mine was all self-destruction. Mine didn't just come along and bite me on the ass. Mine was self-destruction, and I knew that once I stopped doing that, then that would stop. Yeah. And if that stopped, that would stop. And if I respected that person more, that was going to be easier. Yeah.
Last question. The most interesting person that you've met, not necessarily the most famous, just person that is interesting.
Well, Alan Jones is one of them. Alan Jones was definitely one of the most intriguing. I think though, when I was in the Kangaroo Tour in 1990, and this person was filming a movie at Carcassonne. He was filming Robin Hood. We're playing against the French B team at, I think, Carcassonne, and it was freezing cold. We're playing in tracksuits and gloves, and there's a kerfuffle at half time. We went, what's going on here? And in walks Kevin Costner. He's filming Robin Hood at Carcassonne. And wow, what a spin out, because I'd watched all these movies, and here he is, walking into our dressing room. And I don't even think he'd made Bodyguard then. I think it was kind of like one of them actors who, but the fact that he stayed and watched the game and then come back to the clubhouse after it, the function, and asked questions, and we asked him about, there's about 3 or 4 of us who just loved him, and so yeah, he was, and now I watch him on Yellowstone and go, well, I met that bloke. I wonder if he remembers me. I was a tall guy who had the flick and the nervous twitch when I kept winking. Him and Dana White from the UFC. So back on that, I would probably been, if there was no footy, I would have probably went to UFC as a kid, because I reckon that would have been able to tame the beast inside.
Where did you meet Dana White?
In the studios at Triple M.
Oh, right. Okay,
yeah, he was out promoting.
How cool is that?
Oh, he was awesome. And now we speak on Instagram, and
that's awesome.
Every time he comes out, I get him on for an interview and stuff. So yeah, he's interesting.
That's brilliant.
Good story.
Very interesting, man. interesting as a leader of a company, just his how he goes away from that sort of traditional style of.
Not too sure about the slap thing that they brought in.
Oh yeah,
I don't know about that. That's
yeah. It's it's some of the knockouts you get in that.
Man, I've got goosebumps thinking about it.
Yeah, it's that is a strange one. But I guess you know what? It's
profitable.
It's freedom.
Yeah,
and you know what? I'm not entering a slap competition if I don't know that can't happen. And you'd sign your rights away and what people do for money and risk, reward, and all that jazz. Look,
no judgment here.
No, whether or not I don't choose to watch it, but I don't choose to participate in it either. And those people.
Do you like the bare knuckle fighting?
I can watch it.
Yeah,
I can watch it.
There was a pay-per-view last couple of weeks ago and I watched it and I went, these guys are full on. This is bare knuckle.
But it kind of goes away from the art of fighting because there's a lot of breakages, isn't there? So like.
Yeah, it's not boxing.
Yeah,
it's not street fighting. It's not UFC. It's the same commodity, and obviously there's an appetite for it.
Yeah. And look, I'm not going to tell someone not to make a living in a lawful way.
No,
like it's not for us to say. And again, if you have the information and you're aware of the inherent dangers and the consequences, short and long term, then. You want to pay that price or pay the invisible price later on. Like airline pilots, they pay a price with their lifespan because they disrupt their circadian rhythm. But they're aware of it.
Yep, they know it.
Yeah, and the dangers are further down the track.
Yep,
but that's life.
Yep.
And
that's life. That's a very good saying. Life be in it.
It is. All right, MG. This has been an absolutely fantastic chat. We have gone way longer than what we should have done for you.
I'm busting for a whiz.
Mate, so am I, but I'll let you go first. But mate,
pleasure.
Enthralling chat. There's so many other areas we could have gone. I wanted to speak to you about the kangaroo talk, but anyway, we didn't get there. Next time. Thank you so much, MG. Thanks, All the best for the future. And I think, mate, the work that you do with charity, the effect that you're having on people's lives, not just as a footballer, but now after it with your gym, so important. It makes such a difference, and it's crazy. This, I've spoke to a number of doctors around about this sort of stuff. If you want to affect health span, lifespan, if you want to fix mental health, physical health, emotional health, prescribe exercise and group exercise at that as well, because there is a difference. It's not just get out and go for a run. Group exercise, so important. But MG, thank you so much for sharing your story. Thoroughly enjoyed it, mate. Wish you all the very best for the future, and I'll be hearing you on morning radio.
Thanks, Jimmy. Thank you for watching.